What's most amazing about Spider-Man films played by Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire is that they each represent a completely different version of Peter Parker from alternate universes. Welcome to the LitFlix show, where we highlight pop literature and a multiverse of movies, film, and TV shows inspired by written works. For our first highlight today, we're going to break down why one of these Spider-Men has web stuff spitting out of his body like a real spider, and why the others don't. Then, we're going to answer who is Spider-Man's soulmate, because the movies jump all over the place. And finally, what are the essential ingredients that go into making a man a Spider-Man? Let's kick off with a highlight of Redditor 433, who's asking,
why can't Spider-Man shoot web from their body?
This probably confuses a lot of moviegoers because both Garfield and Holland use mechanical web shooters. But if you go back to the Tobey Maguire movie, you'll see web stuff going out of his body, spitting right out of his wrists. And this is weird, you gotta admit, because spiders don't even shoot webs out of their limbs like that. To be more spider-like, webs would need to come out of his backside, which is, let's not get into it. But the team behind Tobey Maguire's movies are actually trying to stick to the original storytelling, where Peter Parker does shoot webs using his hands, but it is not organic at all. That was the big change. Peter Parker was originally written as a science whiz, so he was able to create synthetic material, and that was both strong, sticky, and flexible. And then he designed devices that fit on his wrists that used cartridges full of that web fluid. That's how he became the web slinger. What's the takeaway? Back in the day, comic book fans were a little ticked off, and I was there, I was one of them, by that gooey web that just opened up mysteriously on the wrists. But now we can all admit it's kind of fun. Why? The glory of the multiverse, where all things are possible. For our second highlight, Spider-Man always has a lady on his arm. Now in the comic books, there's no denying who his ultimate love interest is. Mary Jane Watson, who Peter ultimately marries and has kids with in future timelines. Just like any relationship, they're gonna have their ups and downs, of course. Those are the same kinds of ups and downs that you see in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Verse for 3 entire movies. However, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Verse never actually even gets to MJ, and instead the focus is on Gwen Stacy, who is also a girlfriend in the comic book universe, but she comes way before MJ is even a love interest. Then we get to Tom Holland's Spider-Verse. And here you can see that the filmmakers are actually really latching on to the multiverse storytelling, because they give us a very different Peter Parker, who also has a very different Aunt May, and he has a whole team of super friends, and even an alternate version of MJ, Michelle Jones. I like what they did there. You still MJ, but different. What's the takeaway? She may not be a Mary Jane, but Michelle Jones still has a strong bond with Peter Parker. All Peter Parkers thrive on a connection to a lady who ultimately shapes the kind of hero he becomes as Spider-Man. There is no Peter Parker without a love interest who is both a source of strength and vulnerability as Spider-Man. And for our final highlight are the essential ingredients of a Peter Parker Spider-Man. Peter Parker in the comic books is the classic underdog. He's raised by his aunt and uncle. He loves science. He loves photography. He's a geek who gets picked on by bullies and has a crush with a girl out of his league. But then he gets bitten by that radioactive spider, and then he becomes this confident ladies' man, and he's less of a target for bullies. Comic Peter starts as a nerdy outcast who grows into a hero through various hardships. And those are the core personality traits that you see in all the movies. You see them working with all of these in every single movie. Like in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Verse, they nail it. They have an awkward, earnest superhero come up. He does love photography, but because of those organic webs coming out of his body, he loses that scientific brilliance that's necessary to create his own web fluid and his own web shooters. He never even has to think about that. Andrew Garfield does have that brilliance. He's also a photographer, but they bring back that science whiz. He later goes on to tinker with making his own web fluid to do the whole web slinging thing. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is really different from comics and other movies. Not only is his Aunt May a "Hey Aunt May," they never seem to be struggling like all the other Peter Parkers. He never has any real passion for photography or science. And as far as we can tell, Iron Man becomes a key motivating figure in his rise as a superhero.
Let's have it. You don't understand. This is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
What's the takeaway? There is more than one Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, and each one has their own backstory, their own motivations, and unique abilities. That's not just true in the comics, it's also readily apparent in every one of the movies. Alright, peace out guys. Remember, if it's in a movie, it was probably in a book first.